Hello. We're back as we're back in action, and today we're talking about everybody's favorite Malaysian, if I'm saying that correctly, and that is Ian Miles Cheong, IMC, if that's correct. Yeah, Ian Miles Cheong. He's a nationalist thinker. No, he's not a thinker. Oh damn. Let me just. Okay, sorry about that. He's a nationalist, commentator, conservative, immigration restrictionist. That's kind of what he's known for. And that's who we're talking about today. Well, I'm trying to figure out where I want to go with this, but it's funny because Ian Miles Cheong is this. Yeah, it's interesting again because, like, at least with Ian, I can actually respect Ian a little bit. I'll start off on the positive note because, like, at least he does the whole like white people are being replaced in Europe, blah 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 blah. Those gosh darn non-whites, homogeneity. I'll take video of in Russia and Hungary. It's like, what do you notice? I don't know, Hungarians walking around. And the obvious thing is, like, there's not much crime here because there's no gosh darn blacks, there's no gosh darn immigrants. Which I guess you can't find any video of like blacks walking around peacefully in Chicago. I don't know. And this, of course, ignores the fact that 40% of Hungarians believe entire neighboring countries belong to Hungary. Right? 48% of ethnic Poles in Poland believe parts of neighboring countries belong to Poland. So no, they're not these peaceful, do nothing nobodies. But I can respect Ian because unlike the Lauren Chens, he doesn't move to like America or something. He's not like white people are being replaced, so guess what I'm gonna do? Let's move to Nashville. It's like, well, you're just contributing to that. Like, technically speaking, you're just adding towards the from your replacement of like white people, right? It's I don't know if that's the best strategy, but that's what Lauren Chen did, right? It's like white people being replaced in Canada. Canada's no longer Canada. So I'm gonna move. And I'm like, well, where are you going to? Are you gonna go back to Hong Kong? It's like, no, I'm gonna move to Nashville. It's just keep moving in the West. Maybe why not choose like Serbia next or something? I don't know. Maybe just like it's like doing that is like saying like white people are being replaced in the West. For instance, Canada is no longer Canada. So I'm gonna move. It's like, well, where are you moving to? I'm gonna move to Nashville, and it's like, okay. It's like, France is no longer France. There's too many, Muslims and stuff like that, and so I'm gonna move there. And I'm just gonna help further replace like ethnic French people. It's like, I don't know, kind of weird, right? Not a good strategy there. Not exactly showing off the high IQ Asian thinking there. But now on to the negative, because with Ian Miles Cheong, there's a lot. Ian loves to say, diversity is not our strength. Multiculturalism is not our strength. They just ruin social cohesion. Well, if that's the case, Ian, you need to go back to your ethnic homeland of China. You've got to go back, Ian. You live in Malaysia. Ethnic diversity, we don't want to see Malaysia ruined. And diversity just ruins nations. So, because that's what Ian does, right? It's like Asia for the Asians, Africa for the Africans, Europe for everyone. Okay, Ian, if you really support everybody's right to maintain their ethnic majority and you think homogeneity and racial homogeneity and ethnic homogeneity are the greatest things in the world, then leave Malaysia, and go to China. Because if China is an ethnic homeland of the Chinese, well, then Malaysia can't be an ethnic homeland of the Chinese as well. I mean, you're gonna have two ethnic homelands. That doesn't seem fair. No, it's not. That's not the rules that we all discussed. So, Ian, stop ruining Malaysia. Ian, he needs to go back. He needs to go back to his ethnic homeland of China and stay there. Stay there, Ian, because he's like Ian is full of shit because this is exactly what this is the typical POC conservative. They'll sit there and dog whistle and they'll flirt with I'm talking about the Lauren Chens, the Candace Owen. Well, actually, maybe not Candace Owen. No, but she kind of does this, but I don't know. But this is the typical. It's Pedro Gonzalez does this. It's every people should advocate for their own, people, and then they just advocate for whites, right? That's what Ian Miles Cheong does. It's every people have the right to nationalism. Ethnic Chinese people in Malaysia are being discriminated against and oppressed, and Ian just I don't see anything. As he just having his land, the Malaysian government could confiscate Ian's property for being Chinese in Malaysia, and he would just be January 6th people are just being persecuted by the Biden regime. This is crazy. It's you just go on bitching about America and white people are under attack on college campuses in America, in the West, and it's your farm is being your grandfather's being murdered by the Malaysian secret police. Maybe you should talk about it. But that's Ian, right? It's just that's POC conservatives. It's just everybody should advocate for their own kind. Proceeds to advocate for white people. It's what? Ian just doesn't care. But Ian flirts with that whole race as a part of human nature. Oh my god, Steve Saylor is so based as he being carried off into the gulag, in the Malaysian gulag. And he actually, they actually threatened him too because this was the Malaysian government. Well, I don't think it was him. It wasn't them. It was sorry. It was the media. It was a big media outlet in Malaysia that basically wanted to charge Ian with I don't know, basically being a traitor or whatever, because he was pro-Israel, and Malaysia's very Muslim country, and they don't like being pro-Israel, so they kind of were well, that's kind of what the I don't think that's gonna happen, but you could totally see it happening, and him just pretending it's not, and him just bitching about bitching and complaining about whatever, complaining about the West, complaining about immigrants in the West. It's why don't you focus on your own country? Why don't you focus on what's happening in Malaysia instead of whatever, But that's Ian. But Ian, you need to go back to your ethnic homeland, Ian. You will not replace Malaysians. No more. You need to be back in your ethnic homeland. You need to be back in your country of origin. Every people should be in their ethnic homeland. Separatism, segregation, right? Hit the bricks. No more, No. Ethnic diversity ruins nations. And, it's kind of funny because Ian doesn't seem to, Ian believes in demographics and every people should preserve their ethnic majority, but I guess not Malaysians, right? They don't have the right to an ethnic and racial identity, right, Ian? Ian will support repatriation for everybody, just not himself to China. Could you imagine him in China? I wonder what he would do. Would he just sit there and fucking Would he just like sit there and simp for like Xi Jinping or something? Because he probably could. Like you could just see him saying like a bunch of shit about like Islam, but then like randomly, I keep doing it. But then like randomly, they're like, "We've had enough of you," and just like he just disappears. But yeah, so help me get Ian back to his ethnic homeland. Diversity is not our strength, Ian. Multiculturalism ruins nations. You yourself have said it. So stop virtue signaling and go back to China. Go back where your ancestors were, Ian. Go back and yeah. See, like racism is really fun when it's against someone you hate, right, guys? see, right? It's just it's really fun against people you hate. So, Ian, this is my goal. We're gonna get you sent back to China. You got to go back. You've got to go back. No exceptions. No. Diversity is not our strength. So pack your shit. Be the leader that you are, Ian. You're not a woke liberal. No, not us. And look, Ian, look on the bright side. There's no awful blacks. I know how much you hate blacks, Ian. I know how much you hate, Arabs and Muslims. And don't worry, Ian, there's not many of those in China. So you should have a grand old time in China, right, Ian?